subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
First of all, thank you so much, Mr. Bharat from Indo Analytics, for giving me an opportunity. I'm also grateful to Rajagopalan sir. On a lighter and inspiring note, when I first saw him in the Times Now studio, the energy and the inspiration he brings to whatever he says at the age of almost 70 himself, 70 plus, is unmatched. So we are students of both Indian society, polity, and foreign policy, and we try to learn from seniors like you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
One of the fields that nobody had an idea that Mr. Modi will do well or carve his own niche is India's foreign policy. The background to this is the US denied him visa, they banned his entry, so on and so forth. But one outside of this aspect that we all should keep in mind, and your viewers should also keep in mind, is he comes with 45 years of experience, and this is divided into three. 15 years as an organizational person in a parent body called the RSS. 15 years into the political setup with the BJP. 15 years as the chief minister, and now 7 years as the prime minister. So when you're looking at an individual, he remains a phenomena. It's very hard to put him in words. He remains a phenomena. So when you're looking at him, like they say, when you look at history, history gives you a long view of things. This is a long view that he brings to the table. Now, when such a person takes over the prime minister's chair, he was least expected to do well in foreign policy. But I have picked up some key moments in India's foreign policy, and I'm also going to look at the future. If I can share my screen quickly. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So I've put together a few slides and I'll quickly wrap it up. Won't take much of your time. So, distinguished guests on this panel and viewers, the future of power is changing I won't say it's going to be a post-corona situation. We are all, it's like AIDS or any other disease, corona is here to stay. It will be a with corona situation only. The vehemence of infection will come down. There are different forms of power. One is the hard power, which people use in the form of military, coercion, economic coercion, so on and so forth. Soft is, of course, the civilizational, the cultural angle, the power of attraction to influence people, values, policies. Smart power is, of course, the combination of both hard and soft. How effectively, so when Prime Minister was in Ladakh recently, he says India worships and admires a Krishna who plays the flute, as well as a Krishna who deploys the Sudershan Chakra. So hard and soft is what we as a society admire. Sharp is, of course, countries that resort to various sorts of information and disinformation warfare. So you will see this happening more often. And the final aspect, which is gaining a lot of currency these days, is the reputational security. What if I as a country give an aid or help another country? What is my reputation in that particular country, a recipient country? That is also beginning to be judged. If I have to use one word to describe India's foreign policy in the last 6-7 years, and there's a lot of academic literature being produced, is transformation. There is a widespread transformation in India's foreign policy. Of course, we all witnessed this. Nobody imagined that the heads of the South Asian neighbors will be at the first inaugural. At the second swearing in, there would be the ASEAN members and the BIMSTEC members. So there is genuine attempt to transform on his personal part as well as the government's part. Any foreign policy has to be aligned with national interests. Now, India does want to come first, India first, but this is not at the cost of Africa coming last or a Peru coming last. India seeks under Prime Minister that we all move together. That is why the relevance of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vishwas, and Sabka Vikas is very, very key. Intent remains to maintain best relations with all countries, and I'll come to this. We have had a non-aligned past, obviously all of us are aware. Today, it is strategic autonomy bases the issues. So when Prime Minister was interacting with diplomats during his first tenure, he made it clear that all of you have to help India position itself in a leading way as a leading power rather than a balancing force globally. So that is why I believe that going ahead, India is beginning to assert her smart power. That is a combination of both hard and soft. I'll give you an example how engagements have increased. There were close to 40 countries where India did not have any engagement at all, be it a ministerial engagement or a diplomatic engagement, so on and so forth. But this is slowly changing now. I won't say all 40 have been covered, but there is a visit of a minister to 189 countries out of the 192 countries in the United Nations today, which means a minister has touched these 189 countries. PM himself, Honorable Prime Minister himself, has visited 58 countries, and he was the first Prime Minister to visit the country of Israel. Now, what are the important pillars of India's foreign policy? This is not new information. Most of us, the viewers, could even check that the BJP put forth a foreign policy resolution in its first National Executive Committee meeting when it came to power. And these are the 5 pillars they defined. That we look at foreign policy as dignity and honor for us and for all countries. Greater engagement and dialogue. Like I mentioned, there is the need to engage with almost every country on this planet. There is shared prosperity. Like I said, it's not when we say India first, if we mean that we grow, together we grow. Regional and global security, very important aspect. And of course, the most critical aspect is of cultural and civilizational linkages. Focus has been on the Indian Ocean region. Our outreach with respect to our neighborhood first. Largely, foreign policy remains a continuum. So even the previous administration, they had the focus. So India has taken that forward. Act East has got a lot of emphasis, especially with respect to Southeast Asia. There is emphasis on the Bay of Bengal countries such as Myanmar, Thailand, etc. India put together a Pacific Islands Summit in which Fiji was touched and other small 32 islands were touched. They were brought on board for a summit. African Union, India is upping its engagement with the African Union slowly but surely. Central Asia, of course, we have the cultural and civilizational linkages to go with it. One specific aspect which I would like to point out is the outreach to the Muslim world. Some of the countries that have been mentioned here, like I said, it's not if I visit Israel, I won't go to a Saudi Arabia. For us, the intent is, for Honorable Prime Minister, the intent is to reach and maintain best of relations with all countries. So some of these countries, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar or Palestine, they've all awarded him some of the highest recognition awards in their respective countries. Now, this obviously comes forth with the mandate with which he came in the first term and the second term, and the popularity he enjoys, and the personal rapport that he has developed with these heads of nations themselves. Over and beyond this, our engagement and relationship with the US remains robust. Of course, on paper, there is nothing as such beyond the nuclear deal, but there have been, like, for example, Barack Obama came to our Republic Day celebrations. Prime Minister himself has addressed key diaspora events in the US, which has garnered a lot of attention, a lot of curiosity amongst the Indian community there, as well as, why would a US president attend Howdy Modi in Houston? Because it is very difficult to get that sort of a gathering in a Houston, 50,000 people plus people in one gathering. So it is gaining a lot of traction, and this relationship with the US as well as Europe is set to grow in the coming years. Of course, the two difficult neighbors, China and Pakistan. I would like to mention here that the Prime Minister himself, again, this is not something which is in closed doors or under the radar. It is all in public domain. He himself has taken personal interest to engage these countries. He went to Nawaz Sharif's family wedding once. Even with China, he's taken the effort to host in Gujarat, in our near Chennai, in Mahabalipuram. There have been personal efforts, but these neighbors come with their share of, these are the two difficult northern neighbors we have. It will remain a challenge, not just for this administration, for administrations going forward. But India is also slowly beginning to come out of just looking at Pakistan, but also looking at the larger threat of China. Because we were so fixated with Pakistan, perhaps it appealed to the domestic audiences. But with China now, we are beginning to, of course, we have the border conflict going on. But yes, these two countries would be our biggest challenges going forward. What is the future? And I'll conclude with this. When the Prime Minister spoke of the Atmanirbhar Bharat, at least for me, it means that it is a self-reliant India that produces global goods, not just for her own citizens, but for the global good as well. We're looking at an India going forward that, there have been countries which exercise power over one another. But India would assume, like the famous saying of Kanniyan Pungundrana, right? Yadu Mure Yavurum Keli. For me, every town is my village, every person is my kith and kin. So India would envision under Prime Minister a power with than a power over one another. One of the most popular leaders on social media is, of course, Prime Minister Modi. The government is leaving no stone unturned to use technology in advancing its diplomatic endeavors. We are looking at a 2030 vision. United Nations has said by 2030 they would want to look at an India, or they would want to look at a world like this in various categories. So looking at that, and no matter what the difference is, friends, we are looking at a world where we have to work together. There cannot be ways, we may vehemently disagree on issues, but in a post-corona infection scenario, we are looking at a world where even today, India is talking to China, despite all their shenanigans in the border. We had a defense minister talking, we have a foreign minister talking. Communication channels are open. So there would, and we have aspects like the recent Middle Eastern ties between normalization of ties between UAE and Israel. So dynamics are changing. Countries which we did not think will talk to each other have started talking to each other. So countries will have to find and will find a way. We may not, even with those who we agree very closely, we may disagree also. So countries will have to find a way to work together. These are some of my thoughts, and thank you so much for the opportunity. I am a humble student and an observer of Prime Minister, and no words would be enough to wish him well on this special day. And I hope that he inspires several youngsters like me to look ahead, to take on the mantle of looking at India. We have critical milestones coming up. One is 2022, which is India's 75th year of independence. We have 2047, which is India's 100th year of independence. These are some milestones which the youth should take inspiration from his vision and carry forward. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.